was such a multiplicity of ideas expressed today. It was almost unimaginable how they could ever come together as a coherent project, but that's exactly what has happened. So I'd like to introduce Frank Douglas, who's going to introduce his associates who have been instrumental in putting this program together.
Dole says, a 8-hour charrette. We've had some great times with the group, and I'd like to start by introducing our professionals. Dan Brentz. Dan's going to come up and talk to us about the drawing behind you. Lee Jones and Chris Frison, and they're also going to talk to you about what you're going to see behind you. And what we've basically been doing today is looking at the site, which is the existing Natchitoches City Park. Goes back a long time. Added to that piece of property is a very strategic location at 2nd Street and Amulet, which completes the park and makes it very accessible to the riverfront, as well as its position halfway between Northwestern and the rest of the city makes it a very fine solution. So we've got some components, and I'm going to ask Dan to come up and talk to you about that.
We've spent a good bit of the day talking about activities and events that may go on here that would reflect the heritage and culture of this region, and also of Louisiana and of the Louisiana Purchase as a whole. Spent a good bit of time talking about the history and thinking about the component parts that might be located at the site. Then we also spent some time trying to understand what the site is, what its characteristics are, for instance, where the drainage goes, what the topography of the land is like, what the uses are around the land might be, and also where parking may occur. We've tried to understand a little bit about how visitors might flow into the site, how they might arrive, what the arrival sequence and experience might be, and so forth. So I'd like to just take a minute and walk you through it. Starting here at the corner of Amulet and 2nd is located, and this is 2nd Street coming down from the north, and Amulet coming from the river. And here, where currently there's a car wash, that building would be, it's shown dotted in here, and this is a kind of a parking and service area. But we think this is such an important keystone part of the site that we wanted to locate a monument here of some kind. So we're identifying that as a monument without trying to define yet what it is, but we think it's important that it be an orienting piece of some kind or another that would tell people, you've arrived at the Tricentennial Park. Below that, by the site of the current building at the car wash site, would be an amphitheater, which people would circulate from this rival plaza around the edges of the amphitheater and enter it from the sides, from either side. The stage would be located here. So people would be sitting here and looking down at the stage. And the reason we oriented it that way is because the terrain falls off in this direction. If you're familiar with the site, there's a nice slope. So we're taking advantage of the natural slope. And I might mention also that we're also trying to preserve the tree cover that currently exists around the site. So we're keeping activities that might interfere with the current tree cover away from that so we can preserve it, protect that area. This, of course, is Amulet Street, and here is 5th Street along here. There's currently an access road that goes down towards the tennis courts in this area. And we've identified this, it's a nice flat area. It's also kind of at one end or a corner of the site. And so we thought that that's a perfect site for service and staging. There will be a number of trucks that will be required to come in and offload equipment and materials and so forth as they construct temporary structures here, and also to service food and beverage located throughout the site. The primary circulation then would be, this would be the primary node we would see oriented towards addressing downtown. But there would be other important areas that are also located on the high ground. This is a ridge line that all looks down into the site. So the site here is lower then the street, and the streets around it. So these give important vantage points of views into the site. We wanted to connect those, and so the arrivals could occur here, they could occur here or here, and this would become our main circulator, a sort of a spine off of which the other activities, all of the various activities and components would be located. So in here we would have, this is the play area that currently exists. We're going to maintain that. The food and beverage component might be located here. Then a large guest pavilion that's framed with the guest, or large plaza that is framed with the guest pavilion and the food and beverage sites. Then adjacent to the guest pavilion are what we'll call host pavilions. And we'll let Frank explain these, what the contents of these components are. The existing building here for the swimming pool would remain with its restrooms and so forth. This happens to be the pump building. There's the pool, but we'd like to use this temporarily, at least for the exposition, as a water feature. And we might also incorporate a water feature here in this large open plaza. And the open plaza serves as a sort of a central meeting point, a gathering point. It also might serve as a place where people could bring their food when they eat, have lunch, or just as they meander through the site. Might include a children's play area that's water oriented. But the whole idea would be an active and passive area, a large open area that's still framed by the trees that are in the background here. We would screen off along the circulation spine. We'd screen the service functions, and that's what this represents. And so we've also located some bus drop-off points around the site so that they're scattered and people don't come from only one direction, but we give people maybe different arrival points. We assign them, you're in bus area number 3, so they know to go to that one. So the whole thing is a part of managing crowds and traffic. We found we could only get about 50 parking spots here at the most, so we would try to locate some handicap parking here as well as service areas, and that would be connected directly to the pedestrian spine. We think that this site might accommodate as many as 4,000 people at a time, maybe more, maybe a little bit less, but we think that there's adequate capacity here to take that kind of population, and we also think that the parking around it might support that. So, Frank?
Thank you, Dan. Just comment a little bit on some of the things that Dan's talked about. The food and beverage area, we had a great discussion today about focusing on the cultures and the peoples of this region, with there being really no difference between people and their culture. And so the intention is to establish within this food and beverage areas distinct areas that represent the cultures of the various groups, the food, the art, the music, etc., so that we can showcase those things together and create a really wonderful Louisiana dining experience. Dan also referenced the host pavilion, which is coming off the main plaza this way, following Dan's spine, which is a great addition to this plan. Right now the pavilion is envisioned as a series of galleries. What the final configuration of that is going to depend entirely on the story that's being told. It may be that the joined galleries is the perfect way to tell it, or we may need a building with more of a central feeling to it. But in any event, this is an excellent location because it is a primary part of the spine that connects both ends of the site. There are also some other components drawn on here that indicate small retail. And one of the suggestions that was made today was to consider the site for other purposes. Perhaps when the expo is over, the site remains clearly, but have it available for shows, art fairs, Christmas shows, etc. So these might represent small retail individual vendors for an event like that. In addition, we've looked at the most important thing of all, of course, which is restrooms. And we have restrooms within the existing pool house, which we'll take advantage of. Included in the plan is also permanent restrooms permanently available here on the Tricentennial Memorial Plaza. And then also for peak events, we will, of course, recommend the classic porta potty, which is so critical.
And one of the things we like to look at the site are the things to keep people immersed in the experience. And one of the things we have to keep on site is the pool, and we have to figure out how to screen that to keep it within the experience. So in order to do so, we're going to kind of hide it for safety and storyline development, but we want to utilize what's there, which is the pool. So since we have the water feature there, we'd like to use that for a water tower, an iconic element. So if we can build it up above the ridgeline of the structure here, we can use that as a focal point within the site. So you have people coming in down off 2nd Street here, and they can have something to look for down here, and some movement and some action and some color to draw them through the site and through the rest of these entertainment destinations that they can go to throughout the pedestrian circulation path.
And a potential secondary water feature within the plaza that might in some way echo what's happening at the other end. Of course, water has its own inherent problems in terms of fountains and that sort of thing, and a lot of where we go from here is going to be budget driven. So we have, obviously, we've thought of ways to amend the budget to cut back if we need to. It's a great site. It's perfect for this event. We appreciate the activities today and all those who came and spent the day and participated in their efforts, and look forward to keeping everybody updated as we move forward.